This is the first Cultivating Healthy Minds webinar for the Oklahoma Farm Bureau for 2024. My name is Jacob Beck. We are excited that you are able to tune in for our Cultivating Healthy Minds session 1. Joining me today in today's session, we'll be hearing from our testimonial speaker, Whitney Lawson, and our main speaker, Jessica Cabrera. Remember, this is a 4-part series from August, September, and October, and then we will have an additional meeting in November at our state convention. Each one of these, through these next 3 parts, will be at noon, with the second and third webinar will be on the second Friday of those months, respectively. You can ask our speakers any of the questions that you need to ask them through the Q&A bottom at the located Q&A button located at the bottom of your Zoom browser. These webinars, if you want to pass them along to somebody, or if you need to sign up or want to sign up for them some more, they can send these out to you. You need to sign up through the Oklahoma Farm Bureau website, and they will go ahead and put your email in there and send out the invite. Just click the link and you're good to go. We will also be recording all these sessions so you can view them whenever you want to. You can share the videos off of our YouTube page as well to anyone who you think would benefit from seeing this content. These topics are near and dear to our hearts, and getting this information to our membership is a top priority to us. We're looking to help get this out to anybody who needs to hear it or wants to hear this educational content pertaining to mental health. Again, my name is Jacob Beck. My wife Chassie and I are the Young Farmers and Ranchers State Chairs for this year, and we are also serving on the state committee. With this webinar, we hope to help serve you with information and resources so you can be confident that you are not alone and that there are other Oklahoma Farm Bureau members just like yourselves who are walking the same walk as you. Without further ado, I am happy to introduce our first testimonial speaker, Whitney Lawson. Whitney and her family are Farm Bureau members who farm here in Canadian County. Whitney has also been featured in our summer magazine regarding mental health. Whitney, we are excited to hear your story and testimonial. So let's all welcome Whitney.
Thank you very much, Jacob, for that welcome. Yes, my name is Whitney Lawson, and I'm a Farm Bureau member in Canadian County. I'm very grateful to Farm Bureau for hosting this series and creating space and awareness around mental health, as it's something that has impacted my family significantly and is a very important subject for me to talk about. So thanks for making space for my testimonial. I'll do my very best to keep it in the 5-minute time span. I tend to be kind of chatty and wordy, so that might be hard, but a little bit more about my family. So again, I mentioned Canadian County, we're out in Yukon, and I grew up on a dairy operation with about 400 head of registered dairy cattle, where my father, Paul Lawson, headed up our operation along with my grandparents and my mother, my aunts and my cousins and my uncle. And it was a full-blown, family affair, like a lot of us. I am 5th generation to live on my farm. And so I was definitely brought up steeped in deep, cultural connection to the land and the way of operations and farming just being a way of life. My dad attended OSU, got a degree in ag, and came home to continue on in the operation. So I'll take you on a little bit of a journey in the Wayback Machine. So I probably, like a lot of you all, it's county fair time, and you're starting to look at your fair books, and you're thinking about what you might do, what your families might do. Well, 34 years ago, on September 7th, I was in 6th grade, and my dad, Paul, took me to collect my grand champion rooster from the Canadian County. And that's what a lot of kids do, and I had my friend Erin with me from school. She rode home with me that day on the bus, the farm bus. Of course, it was a big deal for her. So she lived in town, and she rode the farm bus home with me. And little did I know that the next day, my dad would take his own life. And it was out of the blue. And it took the community by surprise. It took my family by complete surprise. And, it's easier to talk about it here 34 years later. But definitely, it's been a very long journey to get to this place to be able to talk about that, to be able to talk about this subject with you all. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, is I think making space for this is so important, because I think if you were to ask folks in Canadian County about Paul Lawson, they would have said, oh my gosh, he was such an outgoing guy and he was an innovator, and he really was. He was out in the community, and some of you that are on the call, he might have helped you at some point, or helped your family in some way. He was a resource. He worked with OSU Extension. He was doing all these things, and it looked so good from the outside. But obviously, on the inside, my dad was really hurting. So, I think my message, and I said it in the article, is we can all take the push, the shove, or the 2x4. And as agriculturalists, I think we are used to pushing our bodies to the limits. We work long days. We work hours upon hours. We push ourselves to the physical limit. But I think we have to be aware that we are often pushing ourselves to the mental limit as well. And making space and room to talk about that is so important. And I don't think that it has to be some huge diversion, this major thing you do. It could be a small thing. It could be saying to your pastor, I just don't feel quite myself right now. Or it could be, having coffee with a girlfriend and saying, you know what, my spouse, I just don't know that he's all right. Like starting the conversation and just saying, is there anything you can think of that I could do, or any little next step? Because that's what it's about. We just need to have a dialogue, and chats like these. I mean, this is so important, because we kind of make the assumption that everybody may have the tools, and that just may not be the case. So I've committed myself over the last 34 years, and so has my mother, who's a licensed clinical therapist. We make a lot of space to talk about the hard things and to put ourselves out there and be vulnerable. And so I know I'm probably getting close to my time here. Obviously, you can probably tell I'm passionate about this. Um, it was a setback that my family, we will never get over. And I just hate that my dad was hurting that bad and didn't have the resources he needed. Um, I like to say he zigged when he should have zagged. You know, if he just could have given himself 24 hours, maybe things would have looked differently. Who knows? End of the day, I'm a resource. I'm happy to speak to anyone that wants to speak to me, and I'm open to any questions. And I appreciate Farm Bureau. Thank you so much for making this space here. Jacob, thanks for that warm welcome. And I look forward to the rest of the talk. Thank you very much.
Well, Whitney, I want to thank you so much for coming on with your heartfelt story and testimonial. We really do truly appreciate you coming in. It takes courage and commitment and trying to help others, and sharing your story. That's what that does. It gives us someone to relate to, someone to see, hey, we're not in this alone. There's others going through certain situations, just like you have, and we really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Um, this whole webinar has just been a just something that we all really have been pouring into the Women's Leadership Committee and also the Young Farmers and Ranchers. We've been working on this for last year and then also this year as well. I want to say thank you to those committees for putting this together as well. And we're so thankful for the opportunity to serve our Oklahoma Farm Bureau members today in this capacity. We just hope that we can reach out and help someone and get this information to those who need it. And I just really want to just again, Whitney, thank you so much for that. Um, we hope you enjoy our next speaker, Jessica Cabrera. Jessica is originally from South Carolina and has also lived in Chile, Mexico, Texas, and Virginia. Quite a wide area there. She has a bachelor's degree from Clemson University and a master's of education in human resource studies from Colorado State University. Jessica began her Farm Bureau career over 9 years ago at South Carolina Farm Bureau, and in 2020, she transitioned to the American Farm Bureau in Washington, D.C., where she serves as the Managing Director of Member Engagement. Additionally, Jessica serves as AFBF staff lead for the National Farm State of Mind campaign. She is a certified association executive and a graduate of the Institute of Organization Management. When she's not at work, Jessica enjoys serving in the women's ministry at her church traveling with her husband, and watching her teenage sons play sports. Thank you again, and let's all please welcome Jessica. Go ahead and take it away, Jessica.
Thank you so much, Jacob and Whitney, for sharing your testimony as well. I admire your fortitude to be here today and to be able to share about your own personal journey. I am here today to talk to you about American Farm Bureau's Farm State of Mind campaign and the resources that are available to all of you through that campaign. In addition, I'd like to share with you some ideas, some tips for how you can make a difference in your community and in your relationships as well. So I really appreciate you having me here today. I always like to start off giving some context to Farm Bureau's work to promote farmer mental well-being. Some of you are likely very familiar with Farm Bureau and have come to this through Farm Bureau, but others may be viewing this and not really understand what Farm Bureau is. So I'm going to start out sharing a basic introduction to Farm Bureau, and then I'll share with you about all of the work in the mental health space that we do. So just to get us kick-started, Farm Bureau is the trusted voice of agriculture and the leading grassroots membership organization advocating for all farmers, ranchers, and rural communities. We welcome and include all types of farmers and serve all types of farms in 50 states and Puerto Rico, and that is for the benefit of families everywhere, not only farm families, but all families. And you might wonder, what do we do? Well, honestly, Farm Bureau does a lot. And as a grassroots organization, you will find that what's going on at the county level is different from the state level, which is different from the national level. So I do encourage you to learn about our programs and activities and efforts. But I want you to know that at the core, Farm Bureau brings members together at the county, state, and national levels to speak with a united voice, to support one another, and to give back to our communities. So, as you know, everyone depends on the success of American agriculture. And Farm Bureau stands with farmers and ranchers as we work together to keep our nation's food, fiber, and renewable fuel supply safe, sustainable, and secure. It's absolutely an honor for me to be able to work for this incredible organization, and more importantly is for the incredible people that it serves. It is a humbling experience, and I feel indebted to farmers and ranchers across this country for providing for me and for my family. And it is something that I've been dedicated to now for nearly 10 years in my career, because I recognize the toil and just the absolute treasure it is to have farmers and ranchers in this country. So one of the ways that Farm Bureau works to promote a sustainable future for agriculture is by promoting farmer mental well-being. Today, I'm going to talk to you about American Farm Bureau's Farm State of Mind campaign, and I'll share with you about the resources that are available, and I'll give you, like I said earlier, some just practical tips for how you can help make a difference for those who are around you. So I'd like to start out by showing you just a 1-minute video that was a member from Florida was able to tell his story in this video, and it's actually been a part of a national ad council campaign.
We come from a long line of farmers, and there's a sense of pride with being part of these multi-generational businesses. But there's also a significant amount of pressure. My senior year of high school, my dad made the decision that this world no longer needed him in it. I don't know if he was overwhelmed by the bills and checks that weren't going to be coming in because of the strawberries dying off, but it breaks my heart that my dad made a permanent decision for a temporary issue. Don't feel like you have to go through it alone.
Farmers have to take care of their physical and their mental health, because what's a farm without a farmer?
The mornings, that's my time. Watching the sun come up, I can have a cup of coffee and exercise if I want to. It helps me start the day with a sense of gratitude.
Yay!
Every day is a new opportunity. don't forget to check in on yourself. Love your mind.
So Marshall's testimony and Whitney's testimony are really reminding us how important it is for us to know how to start a basic conversation, how to check in on ourselves, our neighbors, our friends, our family members, and also how to access resources that are available whenever the time calls. So I'm here to tell you about what some of those resources are, and I'll share what we've learned works in this space. I do want to kick off as I talk to you about Farm State of Mind and let you know that I'm not a licensed clinician. I'm not a healthcare provider. I'm not a public health specialist, and I'm also I'm not a mental health specialist. So I am here to advocate for farmers and ranchers and to represent the work that Farm Bureau does. And I want to encourage you that there are many, many resources available to help you or your friends and family in their time of need. So the Farm State of Mind campaign at American Farm Bureau is focused on two primary objectives. The first one is to increase awareness by reducing stigma regarding mental health challenges for farmers and ranchers. So as you can imagine, and as I'm sure you are aware, there is a lot of stigma around this topic. And the way that we combat that stigma is by raising awareness. And there's so many different ways to do that. And I would posit that everyone listening right now is part of that process. And then secondly is to increase access to information, resources, training for farm and ranch communities all across the United States. That's what we're really focused on with Farm State of Mind. So the way that you access these resources that I'm going to talk to you about today and some of this information, including additional hyperlinks to more, and if you want to see Marshall's video again, that's also on this site, but you just visit farmstateofmind.org and you will come to a site that looks like this. At farmstateofmind.org, you can scroll through the information, and if you want, you can go there right now as I talk, and I will give you kind of a play-by-play of the resources that are at farmstateofmind.org. If for whatever reason you have any type of, if you're at a workplace and you have some security protocol with your internet and you have a hard time getting into farmstateofmind.org, I like to tell people that you can also go to just the Farm Bureau website, which is fb.org/Farm State of Mind. You can find it that way as well, because there are some workplaces that have really high security protocol. The first thing that you're going to find on this site is our National Resource Directory. This directory is a living directory, as we like to call it, because it is something that we're constantly adding to, evaluating, and maintaining. If you are aware of a resource in your state or a national resource that is not on this directory, we welcome your input. This is kind of a crowdsourcing directory as well, because sometimes you might know of something that we have not been made aware of. You can submit it to us at farmstateofmind@fb.org, and we will put it through a clearance process. And if it clears, then it gets put on the directory. So please feel free to email suggestions to us at farmstateofmind@fb.org, and we will evaluate additional resources and materials. What you'll find on here is that it's a searchable directory. So you can search by your region, you can search by your state name, you can search by national. You can also type in something like veteran, or you can type in something like counseling or something to that effect, and it will also be searchable in that way. There's a drop down button as well where you can go to the resource type. You can select counseling services, hotlines, published material, and so forth. So it's intended to meet your needs where you are with what you're looking for. And of course, resources are being added regularly. We do have resources all across the country available on this directory. And I want to state that we were able to develop this directory in partnership with the University of Georgia College of Social Work. We also have available all throughout the site what we refer to as helpful tips. So as you scroll the site, you will access this information, and some of them have hyperlinks to additional information as well. So if you're trying to learn more, or if you have someone in your family that's struggling and you're wanting to kind of know what can I say or what do I do, then you can go to the site and find this information. I'm going to dig deeper into helpful tips later in this presentation, so I'm going to skim past this one for now. There's a rural resilience training available on the site as well. This is free, on-demand training that takes about 3 hours. It's a total of 3 modules, and it focuses on helping you understand those sources of stress, identifying communication strategies, ways to be able to help reduce stigma when you're in conversations or when you're in group settings, and also how to recognize those warning signs. Now, through this training, you learn tips for how to start a conversation that might otherwise feel a little bit awkward. And part of the challenge that we have whenever we're trying to be available to friends and family is just, it's not something that we're taught how to do. We don't grow up typically with someone teaching us, oh, this is how you talk to somebody about depression, you know? And so now whenever you might notice that something's a little off, or you might be concerned about a friend or a family member, but it's like, well, I don't really know what to say, so we just say nothing at all. And I would urge you to equip yourself in this regard, particularly if you live in a farming community, because the statistics are really, really high in farming communities for suicide, depression, and anxiety. And if you know how to confront some of these challenges, then you can be a part of moving the needle and a part of the solution. Again, I will tell you a little bit in case you're interested in doing this. Whenever you click on this, we did this in partnership with the University of Michigan, and it was supported by Farm Credit, and we did it in collaboration with National Farmers Union as well. And when you go into this training, it's going to take you to a learning management site at Michigan State University. So don't be concerned that you've gone to the wrong place. They are the host of the online on-demand training, and you create an account in their LMS, learning management system. And by creating that account, then you can come in and out and you can take it at your leisure. So you do not have to sit down for 3 straight hours on one day, although you can, but you can also do 10 minutes or 30 minutes at a time and come back whenever you have the opportunity. I'd like to share with you that this training is particularly very helpful for farm service providers. So if you or someone that you know is going on farm on a regular basis for work purposes or business purposes, then I would recommend that you urge them to complete this training. So we're talking about lenders, we're talking about seed sales, equipment repair, veterinarians. We're looking at, it could be crop specialist. We could be talking about claims, right? Insurance claims folks. Particularly, I mean, the most urgent need is with those folks that are showing up when there's a disaster, right? When a farm has burned down, or when a crop has gone into has been flooded, or something to that effect. Those folks that show up on site to help out in that moment, it's very, very important that they're trained to know how to confront a difficult situation when someone is not only in financial distress or business distress, but they're also in personal and emotional distress. So keep that in mind with this training. And a campaigner, go out and be like, hey, you work for Farm Credit, have you taken that training? Or hey, you're a veterinarian, have you taken this training? You can be a catalyst for helping people get informed on how to start a conversation and how to move the needle. On our site, we also have a plethora of research. We have been doing research since 2017 on anything from the opioid crisis and opioid misuse to stigma, the impact of COVID-19, and perceptions on mental health, and so forth. I would encourage you, if you're a person that enjoys getting data, learning the behind the scenes information, or maybe you yourself give presentations or can share this information with other stakeholders, this is a great place to find valuable, validated information about farmer mental health and addiction to opioids in rural America that you can share with others or that you can use to learn yourself. There's a section within the Farm State of Mind site towards the bottom that is called Seeking Help for Opioid Misuse. So you just heard me mention our research on opioid misuse. And now I just want to tell you more about the resources that are available. So there is, unfortunately, an incredible crisis with opioid misuse in rural America. If you live in a rural community and you're not familiar with the opioid crisis, I want to unfortunately have to tell you that there is a problem, and it's very, very likely that people in your sphere of influence probably have access to or have maybe had a problem with opioids. So please understand that this is often in the dark. It's often behind the scenes, and it's often not known or not seen, but it can have an unraveling effect in someone's life. And it's very, very important that we reduce the stigma in talking about opioids so that people don't feel so much shame if they are battling an addiction. Because if they're battling that addiction, then they're struggling to get out of, number one, a dark place, and number two, the addiction to a substance that they probably wish they weren't addicted to. So being able to talk about it in a safe way where there's no shame and you're not being judged, but it just is what it is really, really important. On the site, you will find information about hotlines. So this is if you know that you have someone in your life that has an opioid misuse problem, please make sure they're aware of the hotlines, because they have a place to reach out that is specific to opioid misuse. And that way, those who are answering those calls and able to tend to them at that time will understand that critical need and how to respond in a moment of crisis. Likewise, it leads you to different treatment program options that are available for opioid misuse, and different sites that have information that's updated regularly. That is not a Farm Bureau site, but it's a site that we have aggregated here to make it available at ease to you. There's also a lot of prevention. So I especially recommend, if you're a parent or a grandparent, or if you have teens in your home, or even if you're just getting into farming, or if you recently had a medical problem and you were prescribed opioids and you're thinking, ooh, I don't really know what to do. I don't know if maybe I should keep on taking it or not. Do I throw it away? How do I throw it away? Stuff like that. You can find that information here. So information about how to prevent opioid misuse whenever maybe you have access to opioids for a reasonable reason, but you are wanting to prevent any type of damage done to your body, to your health, or to the health of others around you as a result of having access to that drug. And then lastly, and I've already kind of referred to it, is disposal. So if you're not familiar, there are 2 times a year that are called Drug Take Back Day. And we actually normally kind of partner with one of them in October. October 10th is Drug Take Back Day. And your local county farm bureau can also do this. You can decide as a county farm bureau, we're going to participate in Drug Take Back Day, which means all you do is tell people that it's a thing. You just tell people that it's a thing. You encourage people to look in their medicine cabinets to figure out if they have any old opioids, or if they have opioids that maybe aren't old, but they don't need them anymore, and just provide them with a safe way to get rid of it. And Drug Take Back Day is a day that's just promoted for people to be able to get rid of those medications and those drugs in a way that is safe and non-threatening, and you're not going to get in trouble. And also, you're not throwing it in the yard. You're not flushing it down the toilet. You're getting rid of it in a safe and appropriate way. So I just want to encourage you that those disposal options are available. And when you click on the links available there, you'll learn more about Drug Take Back Day as well. So the last resource I'm going to talk to you about today, before I dig into some of those helpful tips that I mentioned I would come back to, is the newest and also most groundbreaking resource that we have available on our site. So this is something that you may have not heard about yet, and I'm very, very, very excited to tell you about it. So listen up and then tell all of your friends. In January at the American Farm Bureau Convention, in partnership with the Farm Family Wellness Alliance, we launched together a new platform available for free to farm and ranch communities all across the country. It's called Togetherall. Togetherall is a safe, anonymous, online peer-to-peer community, and it's accessible 24/7, and it's moderated around the clock by licensed mental health professionals. This platform is available to farmers, ranchers, and members of farm families who are age 16 or older for free. And users can simply set up a profile, and that profile setup process will assign you an anonymous username. So I have teenage boys. There's an Xbox in our house. They have usernames. You would have no clue who they are. I mean, the usernames are so weird. And when you're on Xbox, unless you recognize the username, you wouldn't have no clue who's playing. Well, that's what this is like. You get an anonymous username. It's a weird, funky name that's just automatically assigned to you. And when you're setting up your profile, if you don't like the weird name that's assigned to you, you can actually refresh and get a different weird name that's assigned to you. But you get that anonymous username. And then you're able to access a global network of peers who can listen and offer support. Also, within Togetherall, we have it so that farmers and ranchers can join an agricultural subgroup. And there you can share, you can read experiences of other farmers, and you can support one another in that subgroup specific to agriculture. So as I mentioned, this was done in partnership with the Farm Family Wellness Alliance. And I just wanted to show you a snapshot of the organizations that have come together to make this possible. These folks are kind of the engine behind this being able to be accessible. The reason why these stakeholders came together to make this available to farm country all across America is because there's a recognition. Number one, obviously, farming is a stressful occupation, and it's associated with increased levels of anxiety and depression, but also because multiple studies show that this type of resource is helpful. So research is showing that individuals' sense of community is associated with reduced symptoms of depression, anxiety, and stress. Also, community is critical just in general for us to thrive, especially for someone who's already having common symptoms of loneliness and isolation, which is very common on a farm. And according to our research at AFBF that we conducted in 2020, 68% of farmers surveyed said that isolation had a huge impact on their mental health. And lastly, studies are suggesting that peer support specifically is associated with improvements in mental health. It's associated with greater happiness, greater self-esteem, effective coping, and reductions in depression, loneliness, anxiety. So peer support has positive effects for those that are struggling, but also guess what? There's like a bonus. It also has positive effects for those who are providing the support. So for example, if you're not going through a hard time and you're like, oh, I don't need any kind of peer support community, whatever, that's fine. Still create a profile on Togetherall, because you can go in and you can see the people that are struggling, and you might be a voice of encouragement for those people. You can comment, you can support, you can say, listen, I've been there and I am so sorry that you're going through this. I just want you to know that I care about you, and it's incredible to be able to create a support system like that. For someone who feels lonely, who feels like nobody cares, that is a very, very powerful tool. So I'm sure you're wondering, so cool. I didn't even know this existed. How do I get to it? I'm glad you asked. you just go to farmstateofmind.org and you can click on the top part where it says peer-to-peer support, and it will kind of auto scroll you to it, or just scroll down and you'll eventually see this Together All logo. When you see that Together All logo, you click on the logo itself, and then that logo takes you to a form to create that profile that I was talking about. Now, in the profile, it's automatically populated with Farm Family Wellness Alliance. It's going to automatically generate that username that I was talking about, so you really don't have to fill in that extra stuff. It will ask you for some things that I want you to be aware that it's okay. You don't be scared when it asks you this. For example, it's going to need your zip code. The reason why is because if you were to end up getting any type of counseling services from the clinicians, then they have to know where you're geographically located, because laws prohibit people from counseling in certain areas. So they have to send you to somebody that would be licensed in your area. Or they're going to need your phone number, because if there were ever a crisis or something that was going on, they have the option where you can call, they can call you, you can text, they can text you. So they're going to need that. They're not going to use it unless they need it, but they will be asking for that information when you sign up. Think about it like you're kind of going to a consult at a doctor's office. You're not really sure if you need the doctor, but you're just going to kind of learn more. And so you give a little bit of information. That way they have what they need to be able to help you out if needed. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a little bit of an inside scoop of what the inside of Together All looks like, so that you will be as much of a fan as I am. That's really my goal here. I want you to love it and like it just as much as I do. And whenever, and hopefully this is also going to help you just kind of understand what it's all about and feel comfortable with the platform. So I mentioned online support community. This is what that looks like, okay? You can actually sort the community that you see post from by, you can tag it with different things. So you can tag anxiety, depression, loneliness, sleep, for example. You can not tag anything if you want everything to be in the feed that you're seeing. So there are a lot of different kind of sort options. And then there are also a number of things here at the top that I'm going to share with you right now. Here, this is what it looks like when I talk about an agricultural industry group. So there are role-based groups within Together All that help you kind of enter into a space with people that have shared experiences, something similar to you, and then you can anonymously talk about that thing. So it doesn't matter what time of day, if it's morning, midday, night, weekend, it's 24/7. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be commenting on something, and the post could have been from the president of American Farm Bureau and you would not know it. Okay, it might be my post and you would not know it was me. I would not know it's you, but there's still a sense of community support. So you'll see here, student life, work-life balance, healthcare workers, veterinary medicine, military. Excuse me, I'm looking this way so I can see my screen. And then you see the agricultural industry here. So I've kind of zoomed in on the agricultural industry group here. And you'll see some of the headlines of what people are chatting about whenever I took this screenshot. Farming is hard is one of them. Overcoming farm stressors is one. This person scribbled a thing, because that's another little feature, is that you can kind of do you can do like an art thing if that's the way you want to express yourself, and said, damned if you do and damned if you don't. They're just like feeling really frustrated right now. Someone that says no one listens, someone that says planting season hasn't started and I'm already behind. So people are commenting on different things, and you'll see under this a little chat bubble. Well, that's because multiple people are chatting back to that person about their experience, encouraging them, relating to them, or whatever the case may be. And in the meantime, you also have the licensed clinician, which within Together All they call wall guides. And the wall guide is also online and is able to chime in if you're going through something and your peer group is kind of like, this is hard, I don't really know what to say, I'm a little bit concerned about this person. Okay, well, that's okay, because the wall guide is there. The wall guide can come in, and you can even go into a private kind of online chat room with the wall guide just to talk that out in that chat room. And if you need additional support services, the wall guide can refer you on to those services. So in addition, within the platform, we have all these other features. We have self-help courses, as you can see here, really, really great self-help courses so that you can kind of help take care of yourself. You might have a parent or a husband or wife or a daughter or son that's going through something, and you could say, hey, let's both do it. You know, you do it, I'll do it. We'll see how it goes. There's a journal, there's a goal setter, and then I love this one. It's self-assessments. So if you're kind of like, I don't really want to talk to anybody about what I've got going on, but I do think that I might have a little bit of a concern about something, like maybe my anxiety level is really high, or I'm being kind of OCD about things, or whatever the case is, you can go into these self-assessments, take them. The great thing is you can set a goal for yourself and then 2 or 3 months later, come back, take it again and see if you've made any progress. So it's a way for you to help self-manage on some of your mental health, your emotional well-being, and also to detect, man, I'm kind of out of control in this area. I really do need some help. Let me go ahead and try to get in with a counselor. And because I think it's time for me to go ahead and just sit down and talk with somebody who's a professional who can help me out. Which, I know you've been listening to me talk about these resources, but I have saved the best for last. And that is because you will not believe what is available to you for free through this Together All platform. And I'm so excited to tell you about it. So Together All itself is really, really awesome. I'm so excited about it. And I just can't wait for more and more people all across farm and ranch families in America to discover this resource. But when you click on the additional resources section, right, it's actually the resources section tab in Together All. And then you go down to the external resources or additional resources, you're going to see something that looks like this. And under the Farm Family Wellness, when you click on that, it is going to take you to a suite of resources that are available, provided by personal assistant services. And these services are available for free to you. And they include family and individual counseling services. They are not capped. It's not just one session. It's not just 2 sessions. These resources are available to you to be able to utilize when you need them for however long you need them to feel better. So as you can see here, it's not only counseling services. There are also what they call consultation services. I think that might be the word, but and also coaching services. So you'll see here anything from like nutrition and health, financial, legal, let's see, nicotine cessation, life coaching, elder care management, like if you're caring for someone in your family who's aging, childcare, you know, just being able to talk to somebody about some of those pain points in your life. Is it a financial pain point? Is it a legal pain point? Is it caring for my aging parents? Is that the pain point? Is it relational issues, marital issues? What are the things that are going on that are creating stress and pressure that might be able to be addressed here? And then those resources are available for you to be able to access for free. So this is what's so amazing. You join the Together All community for free. And that is that peer-to-peer space. It is safe with that licensed clinician there all the time. Also safe because it's anonymous. There's no stigma. No one knows it's you. And then it has all of these additional resources. So my recommendation to people is go ahead and go to farmsavemind.org, click on the Together All icon, register for an account. Then if you're iPhone savvy or iPad savvy, I recommend when you're on the page, just pinning it to your home screen so that it shows up kind of like an app on your screen. And once you do that, you're in, right? Like you've got your password and it's saved and you can just come in and out of Together All when you need to. And you just never know when something might happen and when you feel like you don't have anybody to talk to, because unfortunately, crisis often happens in a split second. And we have to just be ready, and we need to kind of arm ourselves for these moments in life so that we have tools in our tool belt to be able to respond whenever needed. So again, this is just a site to remind you guys how to get to it. And I want to close our time together just talking about how can we help each other. So as you know, I mentioned, it's important not to just know the resources are there. And I've tried to give you tips all throughout this presentation of ways that you can engage with the resources or how you can help get the resources in front of your friends and family. But additionally, I want to help build your confidence with engaging in these conversations. So I'm just going to point out some of those helpful tips that are on our site and where you can access additional information. So be mindful, and I know if you're involved in agriculture, you know this. Maybe you haven't really looked at it on one screen at one time, but multiple studies do show that farmer suicide rates are 2 to 5 times higher than the national average. So there's a critical concern in this space, and also we are saddened that this keeps on happening. So that's why I think like this project with Cultivating Healthy Minds is so important. We have to talk about it more because this keeps on happening. And if you look at these green boxes and you see what a lot of these experiences are, unique stressors that farmers are facing, you can see some of the instigators of this stress. But as you heard in Marshall's video, he said, "I'm very sad that my dad made a permanent decision because of a temporary issue." And if you look at the issues that are on this screen right now, they're not worth anyone's life. And so we want to make sure that we get that message out to others. So on the site, you see four folks that are very much like Whitney, who are willing to share their story. They're willing to speak up on behalf of their own personal experience. And they've given us some of their thoughts and their tips. So I thought I would bring them to you so we could just take a second to think about them. But we have Adrienne DeSutter, who is reminding us to remind the people around us of something that that they've said and then express interest. So she gives us an example. "You mentioned no one seems to understand what you're going through. I want you to know that you can talk to me." So this is an example of acknowledging whenever they've said something that is kind of showcasing that they might be struggling, and then express interest in knowing more. Another one is acknowledge what they're going through. Okay, acknowledgement again. "Hey, how have you been handling all of this lately? I know it's been some tough times. Can I help in any way?" So here, Shelby's suggestion is, "I see you, right? I see what you're going through. I acknowledge this is not supposed to be easy, and you do not have to hide from me if it's hard. You can just say it's hard, and we can talk about the fact that it's hard." So really acknowledging it and bringing it to light. What you want to do when there's darkness is you want to bring it to light. So even if it feels really uncomfortable, you just say it. You just bring it up. Brandon Batten from Ohio says, "I noticed you haven't been the same lately. Are you okay? I really value you and our friendship, and I want you to know that I'm always here for you." So again, just expressing interest and concern in someone's life, sometimes that can be very, very helpful. And then James Dixon from Arkansas shares, "Farmers think that it's a sign of weakness to ask for help, but actually I think that it's the exact opposite, because anything that is hard takes strength. Taking that hard step and reaching out is what saved me." And I would encourage you, James's thoughtful words have become an integral part of our Farm State of Mind campaign. And that is, asking for help is not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. And we need to permeate that message to folks to understand that it is something that you are doing that is strong whenever you do that. We have some information as well about knowing the warning signs. So I want to bring this to your attention. And there's a link here to FarmNet where you can get even more information on this and dig a little bit deeper, particularly if right now you have somebody who you think is displaying some warning signs. I will share with you our president, Zippy Duvall. He's very open about his own journey and the fact that stress and anxiety and depression is a part of a farmer's life, particularly in crisis or when grieving, like in his case, when his wife passed away. And he often, I asked him, I said, President Duvall, how is your farm going whenever, after Bonnie's death, whenever you felt like you were just in a dark place and didn't have anybody to talk to? And he said, oh, my farm was not going well. So this is a good reminder to all of us that if you see a decline in farm management from a person who typically would be managing the farm really well, pay attention. It doesn't mean that they're, it doesn't mean anything. It just means pay attention. It means ask. It means show interest, and see if it means anything deeper. Okay. So then the last bit of helpful information, helpful tips that we have on the site are about steps of helping someone in emotional pain. And the National Institute for Health has additional information on this, which is really, really great. But if you're just thinking like, I need basic instructions of how to help somebody because I know that my brother is struggling, I know that my mom is down right now, or I know that my sister's in a bad place, or whatever the case is, these are some simple, basic instructions to help you, guide you in your conversation. And then lastly is recognizing that it's not always about responding in crisis or responding after the depression has started or after the anxiety has really taken over. It's also about coping. So these are building healthy practices into your life so that you can cope with stress and anxiety. So you can see here 5 tips for coping well. And then you can see a link to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention that has additional information for effective coping strategies. And in fact, they take these 5 steps and they dig into them further. So you can see kind of, okay, you know what? I haven't really been connecting with others recently. I've just been kind of in my own world. I probably need to start making an effort in that area of my life right now. So let me think about what I can do to connect better. I haven't really been unwinding, and one thing I'll go ahead and plug in here is if your version of unwinding is drinking alcohol, that is not unwinding. So just be cautious because drinking alcohol can feel like an unwind, but it's actually causing your body to have to respond in other ways to protect itself. So just remember that that's not telling your body it's time to rest. That's telling your body to go into overdrive in other areas. And so unwinding needs to be something that you can do mentally, emotionally, spiritually, but with drinking alcohol, that might be a way for you to socialize or something, but please don't let it be the only way that you unwind in your life. So just be mindful of that. So I am at the end of my presentation, and I just want to remind everybody that we're all in this together. It's important that farmers and ranchers take care of each other in the same way that you care for your farms and ranches. Don't ever let your farm be more important than you, because a healthy farm or ranch is nothing without a healthy you. So thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you today, and thank you for the opportunity to share. And I do hope that you're able to utilize some of these resources and share them with others.
Jessica, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and bringing this information, this message across to our members here. This is such a wonderful platform, just kind of has everything all together in one area. I'll definitely be passing this along to many people, and we'll try to make this available to all our counties and local farm bureaus as well. So thank you so much again for coming on. I did have a couple Q&A questions. The first one's going to end up being, so kind of from a local county farm bureau standpoint, what would you recommend them taking an approach on how to get this information out to their local farmers?
Great question. I recommend, first of all, use the spaces where you already have people gathering. Do not feel the pressure to create new things. You can if you want, but you don't have to. So Farm Bureau is a place where people come together, right? So it could be a county board meeting. It can be an annual meeting of your county Farm Bureau. It might be a young farmer event or meeting or cookout or anything like that. So just leverage the times when people are already coming together and introduce it at that point in time. I also recommend that you connect with your local extension services, because extension is traveling around giving presentations all the time. And all they have to do is put like 1 or 2 PowerPoint slides in a presentation at the end and be like, hey, before I leave today, I just want to make sure you're aware of this. Boom, boom, done, right? And so you can do the same if you are doing something with your Farm Bureau where there's a PowerPoint involved. Pop in 1 or 2 PowerPoint slides at the beginning or end of your presentation. Hey, whenever we're together, I know we're talking about crop management today, but I just want you to know that you yourself is actually more important than your crops. And so here's some information for you to also take care of yourself along the way. And that's what I recommend first and foremost. I'll tell you, Jacob, and I can work with Oklahoma Farm Bureau on this as well, but AFBF has produced a resource catalog for state farm bureaus to be able to access all, even like the PowerPoint slides that I'm talking about right now. And so they can share that out to all the county farm bureaus, and then the county farm bureaus can utilize it in the way that they wish.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. That's good information. And I had another question here. So what about some of these people who may not have access to the internet or may not have access to some of, being able to get some of these resources? Say, someone who's senile or maybe living at home by themselves or isolated, what's
Right.
a good way to get the information to them?
That's where you guys come in. The way that you reach somebody who doesn't have access to the internet or who isn't going to be a user of Togetherall is really, honestly, very grassroots. And it's going to take courage, because you have to be willing to talk about things that are uncomfortable. So, but I want to encourage you, pour courage into you that you can do it. So when you know that somebody's isolated, if you know that there's an elderly person in your community that's never online, that's never around anybody, just approach them and say, would you mind if I sat down and had a Coke with you? Would you mind if I brought some sandwiches over at lunch tomorrow? You see what I'm saying? So that's where someone who doesn't have access to the internet and is really, really isolated, it's going to take a neighbor, a friend, a church member. It's going to take somebody who cares to be able to break that isolation and also break the silence of the depression that they might be experiencing.
I agree. That's just reaching out and being there for somebody. And whenever you're saying that it takes courage to be able to do that, it really does. It's nothing that's very easy. I think really being persistent, that's very helpful.
That's a really good point. You don't stop after the first time that it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And if you think, all of us have had days that have been terrible, right? A day that I've been in my bed boo-hooing, crying, sad, whatever, and my husband comes in and says, are you okay? Can I help you? And I'm like, go away, that day. First of all, it doesn't mean that I didn't appreciate my husband coming in and asking that, number one. But number two, it doesn't mean I don't want him to come back later. And so it's the same. If you go one day and they give you the boot and they're angry and they say, go away, just come back again. Don't trespass, please. Don't trespass. but still, kindly and graciously come back over and over again so that they know that you're genuine in your care and concern.
That's again, thank you so much, Jessica. This has been wonderful content. And also thank you, Whitney. We really, again, appreciate the testimonial from that. If there's any other questions, just feel free to message me directly or email any of us here at Farm Bureau. We're more than happy to kind of pass that along to where we need to send them. At the end of the webinar, I would suggest, if you could, just please stick around for a survey. We'll be asking a few questions, see how we did, just get some of that feedback. It's always so helpful for us going forward. Again, I'd like to plug in our next meeting is going to be Friday, September 6th. Will be Monica McCorkney on managing relationships and some of the stress that goes along with that. And we'll have a testimonial from one of our local members as well, Gabe Pfeiffer. Thank you all again for joining today. And if you have any questions, some of us will probably be sticking around here for a little bit. So just feel free to send those over. Again, thank you, Jessica, so much. And thank you, Whitney. Everyone have a wonderful day.